This week on 3 Questions with Corey Kareem.
I feel like an objection I deal with all the time is, hey, Jayden, you've been in the industry for 4.5 years, but my parents' agent has been in the industry for 25 years. And I'm like, respectfully, if we want to look at the stats, I've probably done more in 4.5 years than that agent has done in 10 plus.
Number one in 2 sales, like top 10 in both sales jobs.
And so that's once again, my confidence from what I've experienced in my past, but it was at that point because it's like I did soccer. I was top player in soccer, switched to volleyball, top player in volleyball. Then, so I realized everything that I do respectfully, I'm going to be one of the best.
What's that one thing you think you need to work on?
I think what I need to work on...
Never turn back. Only go clockwise. Never go back.
Now, before we get started with this beautiful conversation, please help a brother out and click on that follow button on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Enjoy the conversation. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to another episode of 3 Questions with Corey Kareem, the podcast where we sit down with some amazing people who are doing some amazing things. And that's right, you guessed it. We ask them 3 questions, sometimes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I know. I read the comments. But rather than just talk about my guests, their wins, or their successes, we tend to start the conversation around their failures, more specifically, the lessons that they learned from those individual experiences. So, with that being said, my guest today is a powerhouse in the GTA real estate scene who's reshaping what it means to be a realtor in the digital age. She's a former Canadian national level volleyball player and also a former collegiate volleyball star at the University of San Diego, where she got her degree in sociology and psychology. She then pivoted from athletics to real estate, and by the age of 27, she already purchased 2 homes, not 1, but 2, and achieved top 0.004% status amongst GTA realtors, and now ranks among Keller Williams, Canada's top 20 realtors. Hello. But what makes my guest a standout isn't just her numbers, y'all. It's how she built her brand. Forget expensive billboards or listing blitzes. She grew through Instagram Reels, TikToks, YouTube tutorials, and content that breaks down financial literacy into digestible and relatable pieces. Although she often makes appearances on other podcasts, this is her very first time on 3 Questions. So without further ado, Jayden, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. That was a great intro. Appreciate it.
I got it down. You got it down. Yes,
I
nailed
it.
So it's funny. I always look to people's reaction after I read back some of their accolades and accomplishments. So I find people sit in 1 or 2 camps. Camp A is, they're like, is he talking about me? And then Camp B is like, yeah, that's right. Which camp are you in?
I think I'm in between.
You're both?
I'm in between, yeah, because it's cool to see sort of how far I've come, but then also it's like I'm really working on just taking in where I'm at and acknowledging my accomplishments. So I'd say I'm in between, yeah.
Awesome. So I know I mentioned a lot about some of the things that you've achieved, but is there anything you want to add to the introduction that I just gave you?
I have 3 properties. So
3.
I got another one.
Outdated information.
Since there.
3, okay.
Yeah, I would say that's right now, hopefully by the end of the year, it stays. I'm number 1 for Keller Williams in Canada for individual agents year to date. So that's exciting. But yeah, I'd say you did a really good job.
All right. I love that. So I alluded to this in my intro. I usually like to start the conversation around kind of setbacks, challenges, difficult moments, how people handle those. So with that in mind, Jayden, you've built a brand around being unapologetically visible on social media. You got the suits, the high-end listings, but I want to know, what was the ugliest moment in your journey that no one saw on Instagram, and how did that moment shape the agent you are today?
Okay, so that's a great question. I would say let's sort of rewind to younger Jayden. I think something about me is I always somehow encounter obstacles, but because I've encountered so many obstacles, I have built my confidence to know that anything that comes my way, I will be able to overcome. So when I was younger, I, for example, had to have knee surgery, have 2 hip surgeries, and I've had to pivot from soccer to volleyball, was told I wouldn't be able to play sports anymore, pursued volleyball, got the full scholarship when a lot of people thought that I wouldn't be able to, ended up playing professionally overseas when a lot of people told me I wouldn't be able to. And then I think a topic I sort of want to bring up, just because I am, a retired athlete, is life after athletics. I think that a lot of athletes, we are so used to being sought after for the majority of our lives. And then reality sort of hits once you retire. You're no longer that Jayden Kennedy volleyball. You're sort of Jayden Kennedy, right? And you have to create a new identity. I luckily was always sort of confident in who I was. I wasn't too attached to Jayden Kennedy, the volleyball player. I do feel like a lot of athletes do get caught in that sort of dimension where they still feel like they have the reputation that they once had, but they don't really have it today, right? So I would say one of my biggest difficulties was I was so used to being sought after, and then I graduate university, I have this amazing resume, right? Played professionally overseas, masters, minor, all-American volleyball player, all of this stuff, and no one would hire me. And so that was a reality check for me, because I thought that because I had a great resume, that it would be really easy to get a job. And something that I learned is it's not necessarily what your resume looks like, because it doesn't matter if it's great if it doesn't get in the hands of the right people, right? So I learned early on that it's the connections that you have that will enable you to sort of progress in your career. So I came home, I started working at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, because it was the number one recruiter of NCAA athletes. So I worked there. And I was top sales in Canada, like back to back. This was my first sales job, my first adult job, right? And back to back to back, I was getting all these accolades, but then I was trying to move up in the company, and there was a ceiling there. And the way that the company is structured is if I were to get promoted, the person above me would lose the commissions that I was making them. So what I found was I was applying for these positions to move up, and my resume was, like I said, on point, but I wasn't getting those promotions. So it came to a point where I said, you know what? This is not how I like to operate. I actually quit my job, and I was unemployed for a few months because I was like, I cannot stand putting in all this work and not necessarily reaping the benefits of it. So I left, was unemployed. Then someone who I knew got me into big tobacco. So I was in big tobacco for a bit doing sales. I was not passionate about that at all. But once again, I was in the top of Canada for sales. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm sort of good at this sales thing, but I studied psych, minored in soc. I'm not passionate about helping people put tobacco in their bodies, right? So I ended up getting my real estate license, and I got my license while simultaneously working the tobacco job. And once I got enough traction in my business, I said, you know what? I am leaving the tobacco industry and I'm going all in on real estate. And it was at that time that I started really growing and sort of quadrupled my production immediately, because I had the ability to focus just on that. And now the results that I get directly reflect what comes in income-wise. And I don't have to worry about people giving me a ceiling. I now create my own ceiling. So that's been great.
I get it. And there's so many things you hit on there. So let's peel back that a little bit. Because no, you gave me a lot there, and it was good. So the first thing is, you talk about you're a professional athlete, and a lot of athletes have what you called an identity crisis after their athletic career is over. And I just had a conversation with another good friend of mine. He owns one of the most best private gyms in the city in Swanee, and he played NCAA football, right? And he blew out his knee, all that, had to come home, and it's like, what do I do type of thing. And so I find that so interesting, because you're absolutely right, because when you are someone that is good enough to get a full scholarship, that means most likely you are the number one person on your team for pretty much your whole entire life, or at least top 2, top 3.
Yeah.
Right? And now no one's really coming after you. No one's like that. And so to go through that psychological, twist, that change, it can impact some guys a lot. Like, what do I do? The second thing that stood out to me based on what you just shared was that you said you were so used to coming across obstacles that you gain confidence that anytime you come across an obstacle now that you knew that you're gonna find a way to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. I think I don't know where I read that. I think that's in some form of psychology training that, if you've overcame things in the past, then that should give you some confidence that you can handle things that will come, across you in the future. So those two things really stood out to me. What a powerful story, though.
Oh,
number one in two sales, like top 10 in both sales jobs.
And so that's once again, my confidence from what I've experienced in my past. But it was at that point because it's like I did soccer. I was top player in soccer, switched to volleyball, top player in volleyball. Then, so I realized everything that I do respectfully, I'm going to be one of the best. And I only do things that I am passionate about, which is what enables me to do that. But the thing is, I remember when I played soccer, I was about like 10, and this was the first like philosophical quote or something that stuck with me. But it was my coach said to us, he goes, "Hustle beats talent when talent doesn't hustle." And that hit me because I realized we were the underdogs at that point. And he's like, look, it doesn't matter that they're older, that they're significantly bigger than you, then they're stronger than you. If you outwork them, you can win. And then we win. I remember it was against this team, Glen Shields. They were a really good team and we beat them. And that just really stuck with me because it's like, now it doesn't matter if I'm in real estate and I'm, there's realtors who've been in the industry for 50 years. Right. They have more experience than me. But if I out hustle them, then I'm going to catch up to them. And if I stay consistent, I'm going to pass them. So I'm so confident in my ability to succeed because one thing about me, no one's out hustling me for sure.
So let's stick on the hustle thing. So I got kind of two follow-ups to that. Outside of your work ethic, what do you think makes you such a great salesperson? Like irrespective of real estate, which we're going to touch on in a little bit, but what do you think those factors are that make you such a great salesperson?
Yeah, so I'm really personable. I think that understanding people's pain points and helping them address their needs is what makes me really different. I think, any salesperson or anyone in any industry, it's really important to be able to, number one, communicate with people, right? You have to have good communication skills. But then number two, to understand and listen to what it is that they need help with, and then being able to come up with a solution for them. So I feel like I'm very solution oriented. And because I have played sports in the past and I've been in very high stress situations, honestly, real estate, even though it's big transactions, is light work, right? Compared to a lot of the things I've done in the past. So it's very easy for me to identify if someone's been an athlete in the past or not, because we are really good in high intensity situations. And I find that in real estate, there's a lot of high stakes scenarios, but I am always solution oriented. Don't talk to me about the issue. Come to me with a solution, and I'm going to also come to my clients with a solution. So I would say being able to put out fires, communicate, and really understand their pain points.
I love that. And it's funny, as you were sharing that with me, years ago, there was a handful of companies, I can't remember which ones, where they preferred to hire candidates that played, that had a sports background. Because their thought process was, especially if you played on a team sports, you know how to work well with people, you know how to handle different levels of conflict, right? Two, you talked about pressure. I was thinking about myself as you're describing your moments, like, when I was in high school, they're like, hey, it's 7 seconds on the clock, call a timeout. Corey, the ball's coming to you. Do you know what you're going to do with it? Right. So you learn how to handle pressure. And number two, when you're dealing with like injuries and setbacks and the training and pushing yourself to the limit, I can see how it all translates to the real world. The other thing I just want to know about, are you familiar with Ashton Hall? His videos with so he's like this internet viral sensation gym guy. I'm just gonna call him that. He's more than that, like a fitness influencer. Let's just call him that. I think he's based out of Miami, and he's gone viral for doing this. Like, has this 4 a.m. routine. He gets up at 4 a.m. has this routine. Goes crazy. Everyone.
Wait, is it like trending right now where people are like making cereal with some type of liquid, like
So like
water?
his day starts off with him like, I guess he has like ice water and he puts his face. Yes. Okay, that guy, right? And so I bring that up because I heard you get up pretty early and you're kind of got like your own kind of Ashton Hall routine. So talk to me about when you typically start your day and what does that day look like?
So as we were sort of discussing off the pod, I fell off. I was a little sick before, but now typically what it looks like is I wake up at 5:30. I do my workout. I do a little bit of journaling. I shower and I start my day, typically going into the office. Once upon a time, I was the first in the office, but also the last to leave, right? So when I get into my zone, I am tapped in. But what I do is every night before I go to bed, I write out my to-do list for the following day. And as long as I hit those, it doesn't matter if it takes me 20 minutes. It doesn't matter if it takes me 10 hours. As long as I check off my to-do list, I'm good. And one thing about me, I'm not leaving anything on my to-do list unchecked. And then I also have weekly goals, monthly goals, quarterly goals, and annual goals. So it's like the annual gets chunked into months, which goes into weeks, which goes into days. And that's how some of the big goals that I have for myself, I find are easier to digest and are more achievable because I break them down into little like bite-sized pieces.
Right.
Yes.
So I got to ask, where does this come from? Were you always like this? Like, were you like this as a kid? Was this part of the athletic training that a coach instilled this into you? Like, where does this...
I think it's just I've been so used to structure my whole life. Like when I was younger, it was wake up, go to school, train after school, right? Then it was university, wake up, wait, school, practice, school, weights, right? So I'm so used to like regimens and stuff like that that I knew I'd have to bring that into my adult life, especially because I'm not working a 9 to 5. I don't have to check in with a boss at 8 a.m., have a team meeting at 10 a.m., etc. It's I create my own schedule and I thrive on scheduling. If it's not in my schedule, it's not happening. I need that structure in my life or I'm gonna fall off.
I dig it. And I'm the same way. If it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Something else to say. So some say consistency beats charisma, but charisma gets the click. So Jayden, you're known for, having sometimes a bit of a polished image and magnetic energy, which we're obviously receiving right now that you're blessing us with. But behind all that, I want to know what's the unsexy, repeatable habit that actually built your business? And how do you stay disciplined and consistent? Because obviously you've been sharing that you're so regimented, but like, how does I want you to kind of speak to somebody that wants to kind of emulate a bit of who you are right there. What would you say?
Yeah. So I love that because it's sort of back to like the hustle beats talent situation, but it's really just, once again, understanding your goals and also understanding your why, right? I have a really big why behind what it is that I do. Not to get too deep into it, but I really want to help minorities build wealth through real estate. Because if we look, 9 out of 10 millionaires build and maintain their wealth through real estate. And Black people are one of the highest populations of, or I guess the lowest populations when it comes to ownership. But we're also on the lower end of the spectrum when it comes to incomes, right? So it's like there's a whole systemic situation happening that I'm trying to tear down video by video, transaction by transaction. So for me, it's understanding my why and understanding who it is that I want to help. And then that helps me remain consistent. I am very confident that I feel like I don't want to sound cocky on the podcast, but it's just like if someone works with someone else, I know that they're in the best hands with me. Right? So it's like I want to help as many people as possible. And the only way I'm going to do that is through visibility. And the way that visibility is going to come about is by putting out content consistently. I feel like a lot of people aren't really used to delayed gratification. It's like we want results right away. We want to make money. We want to help clients, but that's just not the case. So the unsexy things behind the scenes is really how my business blew up is social media, specifically Reels. But I've been posting consistently for about 4.5 years since I got my license. And I think advice for new realtors is before I even got my license, technically you're not supposed to do all of this because you're not licensed, but it's like do research and then start putting out little educational bits to your following just to give them a pulse for, okay, Jayden's getting her license and start to engage with my content a bit. Right. I have a decent following now, but when I first started, I was at about 1,000 followers, but it was me being consistent and posting that content at least once a week that has really helped me blow up. So the ugly or boring thing that I do right now is literally sit in my house and write content. A lot of people don't have the patience for that. We have Chat GPT now. It's very easy for people, just go on Chat GPT. But the issue is, once again, athlete mentality, there's not a lot of people who want to do the work on the back end in order to see the results. As an athlete, Steph Curry, sure, he's making all these threes, but you're not seeing all the time behind the scenes where the man's taking 500 threes in a row and making sure that he scores every single one of that three, right? People only see him winning the championships. They don't see all of the struggle behind the scenes. So it's the same with real estate. I'm putting in so many reps behind the scenes, but that to me is normal because with volleyball, with soccer, whatever it is that I do, I'm always doing reps without the camera on me. So I think some people, once again, think that the results are instant because they see where people are at today and they don't understand that, yeah, even though Jayden has X amount of followers, is doing X amount of transactions, if you go to the office, you'll see she's working harder than 95% of the agents. She's just not posting about it all the time.
So let me ask you this. It's kind of it's a relatable question, but
yeah.
What don't you like doing that's a part of the process? I'd love to know.
This is the issue. I feel like the process is just a part of the result. And I understand that what I do is going to impact a lot of people. I would say the most boring part, which I don't even really care, is quote unquote editing the videos. And literally, the thing is though, all I do is record videos in my backyard and then I go on Instagram and I just merge the videos. But for me, it's like, I'm not energetic. I'm not being on camera. It's just me sitting behind, crop. Right. That's the most boring, but I love it all. I love the contracts, negotiating, looking at houses, driving in my car, listening to podcasts, everything's a vibe.
You love it all.
Yes.
You love it all. Even, do you do cold calls still?
I've never done cold calls.
Even cold door knocking? Nothing?
I did door knocking twice and I was not received well. Yeah. And I think that number one, it was due to the way, I'm young, right? People aren't going to take me super seriously. Right. But number two, I think that a lot of door knockers, they don't provide a lot of value. And me, I'm a very value driven person, but I think that just knocking on the door, they see realtor, they just slam the door in my face regardless. So for me, it was a bit of an ego hit because it's like, I'm actually here to give you value, but you don't want to listen to me.
I see.
So by pivoting to social media, almost all of my followers want to hear what I have to say. So I'm attracting the right people. And I thought, okay, so this one guy is knocking, or I guess I'm door knocking and he's slamming the door in my face. But if I go on Instagram and post a video and even get 3 views, that's 3 people that wanted to watch my content. I'm getting 3x, you know what I'm saying, the results. And that's when it started to snowball. I think that, once again, the negative experience I had from door knocking helped me pivot to social media.
Interesting.
Right? Yeah.
I like that. So speaking of that, some would say branding is easy, but identity is hard. So a lot of new agents, copy what's trending. So they got the luxury car, they're using the fancy buzzwords in real estate, they got filters, all that stuff. But you've taken a more intentional route with your brand. So my question is, Jayden, what identity work did you have to do internally before the external branding made sense or money? In other words, Jayden, what did you do to figure out your branding, and when did you know that it was working, like that aha moment? I think you kind of alluded to it. I know the door knocking was a part of the pivot.
Yeah.
But were there any other kind of moments where you're like, oh, it's starting to click with people now? Like what I'm doing is clicking and resonating.
Yeah. So I would say it was actually my first client. So I was posting on social media just because my goal is, we don't want to get too deep. The educational system is set up in a way where certain people get access to certain pieces of information. So I wanted to be that person who provided valuable information to those who are not learning them the information in school and don't have people in their households to teach them about said information. So my goal of using social media was to just bridge the gap between real estate acquisition and financial literacy, right? And what came of it was, all of these transactions, but my goal was literally just to educate people and be that source of information for them. But I would say about 6 months in, I had someone reach out and they're like, hey, Jayden, I'm looking to buy a house. I'm going to connect with my mortgage guy and then I'll circle back with you later. I was like, okay, cool, And then fast forward 2 months, they're like, hey, Jayden, I'm pre-approved. Let's go buy a house. And I was like,
oh, wow.
Oh, oh, like you weren't gonna ghost. Like this is actually a thing. So that's when my sort of antennas went off. And then the more content I put out, the more conversations like this I started to have, and the more transactions came. And then I was like, oh, this is like actually a very good lead gen pillar. So I never got on social media with the idea that I would get a lot of business. And to be honest, the majority of realtors on social media, they're not getting any deals from their content, right? But I think that because I lead with value, like you said, the flashy cars, the this, the that, but how does that provide value to someone who doesn't know how to get into real estate? Right? So my goal is, let me educate you on, sure, I bought 3 properties. This is how I bought the properties. Not only that, this is what to expect when it comes to your mortgage payments. This is how much cash it is that you're going to need. That's the information that people want to see. They don't want to see the just listed and the just sold. They want you to feed them good information, and that builds credibility. And once you have credibility and the eyes on you, then that's when you can really start to get the ball rolling.
Got it. So you're teaching people the how, the what, not just the end result. Okay. I'm getting this.
Yeah.
Now, real estate agents, especially the ones who do, I guess, luxury properties, love to brag about how big those properties are and kind of be a little bit flashy with it. But you sometimes wonder how much of that is like a facade, like who's actually closing, right? You show me all this stuff. Now, you're carving out a space in the luxury pre-con and resale market, but you kind of alluded to the fact about there's gatekeepers or there's gatekeeping in the industry. So I want to know, what silent barriers did you have to break through to be taken seriously? I know that when you were saying the door knocking, some people thought you were a little bit too young in those high stakes circles. And what's your advice for others looking to do the same that have no pedigree, no handouts, so no connections, and they have no excuses? Like they kind of need this to work.
So I'll keep it real with you.
Yeah.
If you are a black male, door knocking might not be the best route for you,
I
right?
can see that.
I've had countless conversations with a lot of, bigger black males, and they said that they've had really uncomfortable encounters where people either said they don't feel comfortable or they've been called names, etc. So you have to understand that based off of what you look like, both color-wise and gender-wise, you're going to have to pivot the approach that you take, right? So I would say for me, my biggest obstacle is 2 things. Number 1, my age. But I think that I've overcome that because, once again, I leverage social media to put out educational content so people can see that I know what I'm talking about. I feel like an objection I deal with all the time is, hey, Jayden, you've been in the industry for 4.5 years, but my parents' agent has been in the industry for 25 years. And I'm like, respectfully, if we want to look at the stats, I've probably done more in 4.5 years than that agent has done in 10 plus. So I think the age barrier has been a bit harder for me. I think I've overcome that now. And then also because I get a lot of my clients from social media, and the demographic I typically work with is, millennials. A lot of them are it's Gen Z, right? The ones like after millennials, I think. They find me on social media, then they go tell their parents, I'm going to buy a house. And they're like, oh yeah, are you going to use XYZ agent? And they say, no, we're going to use Jayden. And then they're like, oh, okay, how do you know Jayden? And they say, oh, she's from Instagram. And they're like, oh, so you're telling me that you watched a video of someone talking in a camera online, you've never met them, and now you're going to ask them to guide you to purchase the biggest purchase you've ever done in your life? Are you crazy? So that, I say, is the other obstacle. But I see Instagram as my resume. I will not post anything on social media that I don't want my clients' parents, aunts, uncles, siblings, grandparents watching, because I know that at the end of the day, my brand does hold a certain amount of credibility, and I need to maintain that. So if a parent is giving objections, show your parent my social media. I can speak with them, and then they realize quite quickly, okay, even though she's from social media, she knows what she's talking about, and we're okay with proceeding. So once again, I leverage social media to overcome the objections that I would have.
Right. What's the craziest objection you've ever heard?
And here's another thing. I didn't want to start talking to the guy. Right? So there's some guys who reach out to you on social media acting like they're interested in real estate, but they're not. And once I don't show them the same interest in them as, you know, they showed me, that's when things start to go sideways, right? They send the pictures, they do the Google reviews, negative, all of that stuff. So I would say that for me, that's sort of the biggest one, because I'm very professional and I don't blur the line between work and pleasure and all of that stuff. And something that I've implemented, just, you know, a tip for the ladies out there is I do partner with a male mortgage professional. And so anytime someone says they're interested in purchasing a house, I say, okay, perfect. Connect with him and give him your docs. That right there sifts a lot of the frauds out, right? Because if they're interested in real estate, first of all, they're going to want to talk to a guy. They're okay with not talking to me. Second, if they're giving their credit okay for credit pulls and all of that, then I know that the people are actually serious. So that's a way that I've pivoted. But I would say that that's something that's a little difficult to deal with too, is just being a female and being so, you know, out on social media, is you are going to get both that. And then of course, a couple haters here and there too, but whatever.
So you've given us thus far a master class on how to be successful at essentially anything. Because I think what you've described is applicable to most industries, if not all, most careers, most professions. So I want to know, how does Jayden disconnect? Like, how does she reset? Like, because that's important too, right?
Yes. How does Jayden disconnect? If you ask all my friends.
Or does Jayden disconnect? Might be the better question.
Jayden does not really disconnect. And Jayden is sort of, as my friends would say, a little bit of a crazy person. And that's because I'm always on go, go, go. And because of how competitive I am always working. And that's because I love what I do. Instead of watching a Netflix, if my friends are watching Netflix, I might be drafting deals or emailing clients, because that's just what I love to do. What I've realized, once again, is if it's not in your calendar, it's not happening. So now what I've done is I've sort of reversed my annual planning, and I say, okay, I want to go on X amount of trips this year, block off those dates now. Because if I don't block off the dates, then client stuff comes up and I don't have the ability to take the time for myself. And I think that I was so afraid. Last year was a big, big aha moment for me. I was so afraid to go on vacation. And then I told my existing clients, I said, look, in a month and a half, I'm going to, I think it was like Mexico or wherever. I was like, I'm going to Mexico and I'm not going to be here for a week. If you need me, you can reach out, but I'm not going to be here physically. All of them were like, I love that for you. You deserve this. Go take your trip. We're not even going to bother you. We know we're closing, but you need to take time for yourself. So for me, it was like, I was so worried about, my clients are my babies, right? Like just leaving my babies and I go to another country. I was really afraid of that idea. But all of my clients are super supportive, and a lot of them have like experienced firsthand working in corporate. A lot of people get burnt out and they're like, Jayden, take the time for yourself, because if you don't, then that's when your body, sort of like what we were discussing before the podcast, your body is going to make you pay for that. And if my body makes me pay for it, I'm going to be on the sidelines. I'm not going to be able to support my clients in the capacity that I want to. So taking the time off, what I've realized is like, it's not only best for me, but it's best for my clients and everyone around me. Because in order to be my best, I do need to take that time off to just re-energize, you know? So yeah.
So when you are re-energizing, so besides going on vacation, what is like a relaxing day for Jayden look like, if there is such a thing?
I'm not getting paid for this. They better help me out. Go Place Spa. Okay. I like to go to Go Place. That's a good spa. I like to read a book. That's good. I'm sort of half a running girly right now. So I'm sort of going for runs-ish. Not really. Maybe like once a week.
Got it.
And then just hanging out with my friends. I think because I'm so busy, unfortunately, like I do miss out on a lot of milestones. So when I do get the opportunity to hang out with my friends, I always, do my best to just unplug and really be present, because at the end of the day, when you are doing anything, you need to have the right people around you. And my friends are I negotiated a deal at my best friend's wedding, and they're like, crazy. That is Jayden, my best friend's wedding shower. Right. So it's like, but they understand, like, that's just Jayden. That's her lifestyle.
Crazy.
Right?
You know what I like? So that's funny and crazy at the same time. I'm having two kind of like moments with myself. Hearing you talk it's almost like hearing a version of me.
Oh, no way.
So it's kind of like, and now sitting on the outside, it's like, oh, wow. I could see how some people might say, yo, you're crazy. But also, I thought I was hardworking, but you're definitely like a different level than I am.
Now you have a whole podcast, so that's a lot of work.
People tell me, yo, I thought I work hard, but now I'm getting around someone else, and I'm like, man. So there's always levels to this, but no, I find it fascinating because I get your passion, because when you're passionate about something, it doesn't really feel like work, at least most of the time. And you know, I've had the privilege, I'll call it a privilege, to give the eulogy to both my grandmother's and grandfather's funeral, which happened about 5 to 7 years apart. And I ended both of their eulogies saying the same thing. And it was a quote I got from the speaker, Les Brown. And he said something like, live full, die empty. And that sticks with me. So when I leave this planet, this earth, I want to die empty because I want to leave it all here. You're an A-type, right? You're a high achiever, and we can relate. We want to accomplish things. We want to do things. We want to create impact. We want to create legacy, and it just drives us. But I'm also now at the age, I'm a little older than you, where I also know that it's important to make time for yourself, because, you know, the body can check you if you don't do it yourself.
Yeah. And
also, like, it's also important to make time for the people around you as well, because as you start getting older, you know, you might lose a few people here and there, and then you don't want to have any kind of, you know, regrets or anything like that. And so, but again, man, just hearing you talk, I was like, wow, is this what I sound like to people? But I understand it, though.
You get it.
I really do get it, because when you have so much in you that you want to do, that you want to accomplish, you just don't know how to turn off. But something that I ran into, and hopefully you don't get to that point, is I ran into a problem where I had trouble sleeping because my brain wouldn't shut off. And sleep is something that we take for granted because it's easy to move out the way, right? But it's one of those things, if it's compounded over time, it can start to get at your body, and so you'll start getting sick, and you'll think it has something to do with something else, but really like the sleep is like the root cause, from like anything from like brain fog to why do I feel like this? How come I'm gaining weight? To this, all these different things. So I think you got your sleep in check, but don't mess with that one.
Don't mess. Yeah, and that sort of is an interesting that you bring that up. So I try my best to surround myself with other people who have similar mindsets to me, right?
Yeah.
So I remember when I got into real estate, my goal was I want to make 100K, right?
Yeah.
And then I was talking to an agent. He's like, 100K, like, what about 10 mil? And I was like, damn. And then I said, I'm like, in my first 5 years, I want to buy a house. And this other realtor told me, she's like, buy one house in 5 years. She's like, you got to buy a house every other year. And like surrounding yourself with those types of people who are like, I think my goals are big, but they're like, no, respectfully, your goals are very small, right? So it's really important to surround yourself with those people. And I always actively go out of my way to like ask people, you know, who do you know that I should connect with? Because I'm always trying to surround myself with bigger thinkers, because sometimes it takes seeing someone doing something in order to sort of open your mind. And that's why something that's also been a blessing from doing all the work that I am is that I am inspiring a lot of Black people to get into real estate, by be it investing or becoming an agent. And they're like, look, we don't see many people, you know, your age that look like you doing what it is that you do. So I think that as I continue to climb the ladder, the ladder's like up to the ceiling and I'm like right here. But like, as I continue to climb the ladder, I want to ensure that I'm also providing some ropes to those who are under me to sort of help bring them up. And on that token, I also do have a lot of like older, I don't want to say mentors, but people that I speak to on a regular basis. And I have heard a lot of stories about burnout and overworking and losing the family members and people's last words on their deathbeds and stuff. And so they remind me like, Jayden, yes, you want to help as many people as possible, but at the end of the day, like, I'm also doing this to build generational wealth and to take care of my family. And if my family members are no longer there, then a big part of my whole why is sort of eliminated, right?
Right. Absolutely. And so to move on to my last big question, if you were a real estate agent starting out today, like today was day one and you're in today's market, with today's conditions, what are the 1 to 2 things you would be focusing on and doing right now to kind of kickstart your real estate career?
Social media, 100%. And not only that, just building your brand, right? Your brand can bring you a lot of opportunities. I get to be on your podcast, right? I get to be on the news. And through doing all of that, it does build more credibility and gives you more reach. And when you do social media, you have to do value-driven content. A lot of people, we do mindless scrolling on socials, but you will stand out if you're providing value. But you also have to be authentic and show a little bit of your personality, right? When I first started, I was I was afraid that people were going to judge me. I didn't know how I'd be perceived. But then I realized as I continued to sort of be myself, I started to attract a lot of clients who were similar to me. And the thing is, if you're not yourself on social media and then people meet you in person, there's going to be a bit of a disconnect, right? So there's that, I would say. And then just surround yourself with the right people. I think that like a lot of agents right now were saying, this is the worst market we've seen in 15 years. And I'm sitting here thinking like, this is the best year I've had by far. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of the agents that I surround myself with, they're all having the best years. And some of them have had their license for 7, 8, 9 years, right? So I feel like I sort of live in this bubble. I might be like a little delusional, but you have to be delusional in order to sort of look over all of the negative energy that a lot of people are putting out there, right? So I would say get on social media and surround yourself with other driven people, because the issue is if you have one negative person in your ecosystem, it's going to drain everything out. Similar to an organization. If you have one person who doesn't understand the culture and they start sort of sucking the life out of everyone else, that's going to ruin your entire ecosystem. And then no one's going to be happy.
Right. I love that. And to your point about surrounding yourself with the right people. So I have a men's group. It's 4 of us. We get together once a month and we talk all things life, goals, career, business,
amazing,
all that. And I had a similar moment to you where I was describing what I do. And one of the guys, funny enough, he's a real estate developer. And he's like, oh, you raise capital. That's not what I do. But he was saying that my skill set, that's what my skill set is on a bigger level. And I never thought of myself as someone like that. But that conversation changed my mind. And also like, having different lines of revenue and side hustles and things like that. And I was like, I remember I had to make a big purchase. And he said to me, Corey, he's like, as a real estate developer, he's like, at least 4 times a year I go broke. But it's temporary. He's like, if you want to grow, you're going to have to spend money, essentially. So he's like, this is a part of the process. You use the word process. It's a part of the process. He's like, money is currency. It's supposed to move, right?
Connect me with this guy. Yes.
It's supposed to move. It's not, you're not supposed to hug it and hoard it in your bank account, right? You're supposed to move it, right? So to your point anyways, when you're around people like that, it gives you perspective. And you're like, oh, okay. It opens up your mind and be like, okay. Like, this is not so bad. This is, okay, I could think bigger. Like, so I get you on that.
And that actually, that's another thing. Realtors, you have to spend money to make money, right? The best investment you can make is in yourself. Okay, so I have no issues dropping $500, $1,000 for an online course or an in-person seminar where I can get one nugget and that can help me 2x my business right there. So I think that a lot of new agents are afraid to spend money. Like a lot of us, we don't have money to start out, but it's like do what you can to be in certain rooms. And a lot of the time, it's going to be maybe you have to sacrifice your time. I don't have the money to attend this event. However, I do have the time to volunteer at this event and get the same knowledge that everyone else is paying for, right? So it's just thinking of creative ways to get into the rooms that you want to be in to be able to level up.
Okay. Now we're going to pivot right now. We're going to pivot to...
Oh, like it's an actual...
Yeah. So I came up with a card game. It's not even a game. So we've been talking a lot about mentality, focus. So I came out with something called 3 questions, name of the podcast. Conversation cards for overthinkers. I know.
Sorry. This is your actual.
Yeah.
Can I have this?
Yeah, you can hold on. I'm gonna
get yours today. 3 questions. Amazon.
Yes, Amazon.
On Amazon. Let me move on the mic. Amazon. 3 questions. Corey Cream. Get it today.
I love it. I love that. So I'll give you the quick backstory. Okay. So last summer when I turned 40, I took like a self-retreat to Costa Rica. I literally locked
I want to do one of those.
Yeah. So I literally locked myself in a cabin in the middle of the jungle. Like literally like the jungle. There was like all types of things and creatures around me. and very limited internet. So it was my opportunity to force myself to disconnect, which is something that I have trouble doing. And two things I discovered: when you're off the internet, 24 hours is a lot of time. And the second thing that came to my mind, and this would resonate more so with overthinkers, is that no one will talk you into or out of more things than yourself. So learning to have very productive, conducive, constructive conversations with yourself is probably one of the most important skill sets you can develop, because I myself, in my 41 years on this planet, I've cheated myself out of opportunities. Whether it be in a boardroom, you have an answer to a problem, but you're like, oh, what if it's stupid? And then you hear somebody else say it, and they're like, that was great. And you're like, oh, man. Or, you see a girl or whatever, and you talk yourself out of it. Could have been your one, right? So I've developed this card game to help people have better productive conversations with yourself. So, Jayden, what I'm going to do here is I want you to pick any two cards from this deck, and you're going to answer the question to your best of your ability.
But that's 2 questions, not 3.
I know. The third one I got for you.
Oh, okay. Honestly, the Costa Rica thing got me excited. That when you said bugs, I can't do
Well, you
that.
know what? You could do the side of Costa Rica I was on was more like the self-retreat where you see people do those like Airbnbs, but I didn't do an Airbnb. I purposely put myself in this situation. There's also a fun side to Costa Rica that's like on the Caribbean side where you can party, have fun, and do all that type of stuff.
Yeah, I want like glamping. Like I can't do tents or anything like that. But okay.
So I want you to ask the question and you answer it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm nervous. I don't even know how hectic these questions are. Ooh, what do you need to let go of this year? I would say, can I actually say something that I let go of last year that I think would benefit the viewers that I've never discussed before? A little controversial.
Breaking news.
Yeah, oh my gosh. I let go of smoking weed. Yeah. And I think that really helped me, especially with my business, because I liked the quote unquote escape that I got and the way that I felt, but then I didn't like the lack of productivity that I experienced the next day. So I think that letting go of that and also embracing God, it was sort of two at the same time simultaneously, has really made a difference in my life. So
I love that.
Yeah. Does that count?
Yeah. Of course.
What do you need to let go of this year? What did you let go of last year?
Got you. Well, you're asking me now.
Yeah, no, I'm asking you.
Yeah, okay, she's flipping around.
Yes.
What do I need to let go of this year? Ooh, that is so good. You're asking me my own questions.
Yeah.
I would say for me, I can be hard on myself for things that are outside of my control, meaning that I'm an empath, even though I am an A-type, which is kind of a weird mix. And sometimes I can feel a level of guilt even when it's necessary to just tell the person this is what it is.
Yeah.
Right? And so I just need to kind of let go that, hey, it's outside of my control. They're technically responsible for their feelings. You don't need to kind of, baby that, if you will. So that's what I need to let go of.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I feel like we can all work on that, right?
100%.
What would you do for free? My job today. My job today. Sellers, don't take that too serious, but I love my job and just empowering others.
And similar to you, I would be doing this for free. That's what I would do. And my last question for you is up here. What is a quote or a mantra that you currently live by? Like, I'll give you an example for myself. So for me, this is not really a quote, but will kind of help you think about it. In my room, I have a picture of Kawhi Leonard when he hit that game-winning shot against Philadelphia. Yeah. And it's a reminder for me to shoot my shot every day.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I would say that everything happens for me, not to me. So anything that I experience, even though it could be perceived as something negative, you know, right away, a lot of the time, the pieces sort of come together long term. And I would just say that understanding that everything does happen for a reason and that I'm going to grow from any adversity it is that I face.
Can I throw one more to you?
I mean, I guess.
What is something, I know you said you kind of need to work on what I just mentioned, but what do you think you need to What's that one thing you think you need to work on?
I think what I need to work on, I was reading a book and I sort of reflected on this, and I don't know if my friends would say this or not, but it's I get so excited in our conversations, like with my friends, that I feel like I cut them off and I sort of inject my thoughts on the situation without listening to their whole thing. And then I only realize this because half the time they forget what they were talking about by the time I finish sort of saying what it is that I have to say. So I think just being a better, my clients, right? But when it comes to my friends, I just yap too much. I need to really listen to what it is that they're trying to tell me and then give my opinion after that.
I did that for the people out there that think you're perfect and they need to see a little bit of a flaw. They just need to see a little bit of a flaw and be like, oh, okay. She's not just as perfect, this whole thing. She just thinks she needs to work on. See, everybody, there's things she needs to work on.
I have a lot of flaws, yes.
Okay. Well, Jayden, this concludes this episode of 3 Questions with Corey Kareem. But I want to give you a chance to plug anything that you're working on. Maybe it's an event, maybe it's just your socials, anything like that.
I'd give a shout out to 50 for Free. It's a nonprofit that I work with. They work with underserved youth and they just teach them about basketball and also financial literacy. So we do host a lot of workshops like March Break. There's a free camp where you get to play basketball with some like former national team players, whatever. And then you also get to sit in the classroom with me and learn about bank accounts, savings, investing, real estate, and all of that fun stuff. So I'd give a shout out to them. And I give a shout out to Nick Moretti. He's one of my colleagues. He was actually the person that said, Jayden, what the hell are you doing? You need to quit your full-time job and you need to go into real estate full-time because my life would not be how it is today without him. So those are my shout outs. Oh, and my mom and my dad and my brother, of course, and my best friends.
Shout out to Nick and the family, of course. Well, guys, for my listeners, for my audience that tune into every episode, I like to end each episode with saying this. Sometimes you don't need to learn anything new. You just need to see that somebody else went through it too. So with that being said, Jayden and myself are out. Peace and love. Until the next time.
Clockwise, 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 clockwise. Never turn back. Only go clockwise.